today we've got an extremely special guest on the show. It's none other than Ghostbusters' very own Walter Peck.
Hi, John.
Bulb Tech Group.
We provide telephony services to businesses across the UK and indeed globally. And then I worked around the country up to the point I got held at gunpoint, actually hospitalised as a result.
This is John.
And this is Nick.
And this is
How It Is.
And with technology the way it is, I'm guessing there's a lot of change in telephony. So what's happened recently and what's coming next?
Ooh, so at the moment there's the PSTN switch off, which is causing potentially other people and a lot of businesses a bit of pain.
Do you want to explain what that is?
Public switch telephone network, basic phone line, analog phone line.
That's why Virgin have told me that they're going over to Wi-Fi for my landline.
Yeah. So the analog infrastructure has been switched down.
Why?
It's old equipment.
Right.
Some of the equipment in some of the exchanges, and in fact, some of the exchanges are over 50, 60 years old. We're in Swansea, right? You get a fibre internet connection to your house from Virgin or U5 or Vodafone, where 100 meg, 30 quid, right? And you plug it in and you'll get 100 meg. Some parts of the business localities in Swansea, and I know this because I've worked the area for a long, long time when we were there, some of the infrastructure is built on aluminium cable that was put in the 70s because copper was too expensive, right? That stuff rots, and people are trying to put broadband lines through it. That's going to be bad for business. So there's been a move to upgrade the infrastructure.
So what about these, like, an old farm in West Wales or deepest, darkest mid Wales or somewhere like that with no Wi-Fi at all, no internet connection? How are they going to manage?
So that's one of the reasons why there's been a delay.
Right, okay.
So the switch off was meant to have occurred this year, 2025. The end date's going to be 2027. The network operators, your likes of your Virgins, your Vodafones, and your Reaches are working on a range of alternative products. Some which may still yet use a copper line to be delivered for a basic phone line out there.
It's going to cost them an absolute fortune, surely.
It already has to date, but it's already paying and reaping rewards, and you've got alternative internet providers out there. Can't think of any now right off the top of my head, but OGI is one, U5 is another, White Fibre is the Isle of Wight internet service.
Yeah, up in Wolverhampton where I live, they've done FTTP everywhere. So there's like so many providers. They're all just billing companies, I guess, aren't they?
And they're infrastructure providers, right? There's some huge growth for them to be able to push out faster internet, faster Wi-Fi. But then it's the applications around that, content. How are you going to deliver TV services through that? How are you going to deliver a phone line through that? We're only interested in the telephony side of the voice, right? And everything we can link back to a phone number. So whether that's a basic in and out line on a phone, and we can put a landline on a mobile and a mobile on a landline and various other connotations of that. We could turn that number into a conference facility, a video conferencing facility, call queue, an auto attendant, contact center. But we can link it all back to a phone number, and that's what we think sets us apart. As much as we understand some of the security elements, the cybersecurity elements, the network infrastructure, the reliance on the internet, fiber optic cabling, Wi-Fi, etc. We know what these things need to do, but only so our product works best, and only so that we can then advise and guide on the product set that we're pushing. We like to think of ourselves as a boutique provider.
Does that mean expensive?
Yeah, not always, but it could be, but not always. The idea being is that we specialize, your industry, the motor trade, for example, a compliance, right? So somebody's wants to buy a brand new Mercedes, right? So they'll go to a Mercedes dealer. They might even phone Mercedes on the hotline number they've seen advertised in the back of a magazine. And Mercedes will say, yeah, that's great. You need to go to the Mercedes in Wolverhampton. And that'll be a small local business franchise for all intents and purposes, dealership that will specialize in that car, in that product and service, the delivery. That's what we do with bulk of our vendors. So from AudioCode's perspective, we're a partner. So in some cases, prospect will ring them up, hey, I'd like to buy your product. And they will say, that sounds great. What product, what, why, what, where, who, why, what, and all the other relevant questions. They go, great, you need to speak to Garath and the team at Bulb. They're one of our UK and global partners in this instance, and they can deliver the product you want in the timescale you want.
So what's coming for small business that people might not know about, but is a real opportunity?
Ooh, to sell or to buy?
Well, I just mean from a telephony point of view. So, we said earlier, there's still businesses where they've got a landline number or a phone number, they're just answering it to customers. What's around that's really cool that people can understand that's coming that might help the business?
So there's a couple of different things, right? And I think that the world in tech moves quite fast, right? And everyone talks about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and, how these things are going to affect us. They're going to replace people's jobs and stuff. We view it, and Dom's our tech lead more than anything, right? But we view it more as an augmented intelligence, because it still needs a human to tell it what the outcome is required to be. At the moment, most of these machine-based learning programs still need a programmer to tell it what to look for, how to think, how to operate, how to respond, right? A small business could potentially take bookings 24/7. So a phone number is linked to a local restaurant, and during the day, 9 until 9, it's answered. If you call in a local restaurant, I'd like to make a booking. Yeah, okay. And then they find it on the booking system. The old days of diaries have long gone. Most people these days have a tablet, a laptop that they push everything through on a calendar basis. Or it's an industry-based app linked to restaurants and bars and whatnot for booking and turning tables over. What we could potentially do is have that phone number available 24/7. So between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m., someone can call that number, make a booking, and the machine will look into the diary, find out when is appropriate, how many tables, what tables are available, how many seats, what time, 2 hour, 3 hour booking, whatever the case may be, what day of the week, and then create the booking. Potentially take a deposit over the phone without the restaurant ever needing to physically answer the phone with a person. So that money then is taken over the phone from John's black Amex card, where he's making a booking at XYZ restaurant for him and the family for Sunday, and he hasn't had to speak to anyone because he's been too busy doing his day job.
So well done. We love a live business idea. So what you're saying is, if we, and I promise this is not pre-thought out, if car dealers had a phone number and someone rang up and said, can I book a test drive, for instance, on a vehicle, and that was answered by an AI agent or whatever it is, we could then send the customer a drive app booking system. They could scan the license, book in a test drive, and have it fall into the dealer's diary, so that when they're in the morning, they've got a customer ready.
Yeah.
There you go.
So,
let's get that implemented.
So the phone number comes in at 9 p.m. on a Thursday night. Someone's just been looking through Auto Trader online or whatever it might be.
Sun Motors.
Yeah, Sun Motors. We'll have to edit that. So call comes in, an API link is sent into their dealer management system, so that it's. Can you tell me how can I help? I'm calling about the Mercedes. Which one? The 2014 in red, the A class, AMG, whatever it might be. Yeah, great. I'd like to test a booking. The machine can be programmed to take the booking, take the test drive booking, and then using other technology we can plug into, A, put it in a diary slot, B, send a text message or a WhatsApp message out to the customer with instructions to upload their photograph of their driver's license or any other documentation that's needed. And all of this is at 9 o'clock at night. And you're David, the local owner of a car dealership. He's at home. He's having a beer, but the work has been done for him. And then Friday morning he comes in and he's got a booking.
And this sounds really expensive, I think, to people watching. Is that the reality though, or is this just like now, like what can be done?
So we've just shot this idea from the hip,
Yeah.
right? Because I've mentioned something and you picked up on it, which is really good. A similar scenario is this, right? We've got a live app that we've got that we're working and selling in, and it's a conversational translation tool. So someone can phone a phone number from Germany, speaking German down it. The machine will answer, "Thank you for calling. I'm your assistant translator today." And a lad in Cardiff will answer the phone and speak in English. And the translation is done automatically.
That'd be difficult if they were both speaking English, to be honest, wouldn't it?
It's a
German accent to Cardiff accent.
Yeah, absolutely. But so the translation bot takes it in German, spits out in English, takes it in English, it spits out in German. There's a gap of around an average of 1.1, 1.2 seconds between the German speaker stopping and the English person hearing it, right? But that will come down with learning, right? That service works out at about 40p a minute.
It's like the old days.
Yeah, the old premium phone numbers.
Yeah, well, we're not going to give you no, I know, but the idea is that when you take into account the infrastructure, the application, the extra line, bot work, framework we're going to have to put in place to get it at that,
You wouldn't get translated for 40 pence a
you
minute.
won't.
No.
No,
I
and this is
think
the point.
my wife works in dentistry, and I think when
She's
she
a
worked,
scouser, you need a translator.
Yeah, there is
full-time
that.
there, yeah.
I'm sure she said when she used to work at the hospital, it was like £250 an hour for a
Wow.
translator, and that was a
and more,
while ago
you know,
now.
and more.
Yeah.
We want to make money, but we want a good deal. And I learned this from a former business partner. We had a big fallout out, but that's a different story. Good deal's only a good deal if everyone sat around the table eating the same meal with the same knives and forks. So if a customer has an outcome that they want to get to, and we can deliver that, if we went in and said it's going to be £250 an hour, they'll go, get a translator for that.
Yeah.
If we can make it so that it's a price that's believable and achievable, because like your local motor dealer in Kingsbridge, he's not going to necessarily have someone answering the phone at 9 o'clock at night on a Thursday, or have access potentially to make the booking.
You say though people answering the phone. Do you think though that the younger generation, this new, what is it, Gen Z, X, whatever, we had this discussion, they don't like using the phone. It really winds me up. And I always say that the phone is for communication, a text or an email is for confirmation.
So
That's
that's interesting. So we as Bulb, we've got customers across different industries, right, and different sectors, from small motor dealers and petrol stations and shops and stuff, through to large pharmaceutical organisations and public sector bodies, right? I was on a call on a Teams meeting with a best way to put this, rural-based borough council, talking about a solution they're looking for, and the guy was like, we need to move this to the next level, so it's all automated. Okay, it's great, and I want to sell you this product. But what does your persona user look like? This particular area of England is quite a well-to-do area. The majority of people living there are of a certain age. So the persona there will be Mrs. Miggins, aged between 56 and 70. She's going to want to speak to someone.
they love speaking. They'll ring anybody.
Or she's going to want to visit an office because that's how they operate. I'm of a generation, Gen X, I think we are. You might be something else.
40,
You're younger,
41.
but I want to speak to someone. Have I got a problem? I want to get on the phone.
Absolutely.
Right. So the personas will be based around that generational element. So yes, from a messaging perspective, my daughters, my youngest, doesn't speak to anyone. She'll send a message, text. So for us as an industry,
From upstairs usually.
yeah. What's the tea?
Saskia messages me. I'm in the office across the hall there, and she messages me from here. You know what I mean? She doesn't even shout.
That's crazy. But yeah, so from our point of view, we've got to take, as a voice provider, we've either got to encourage people to speak, to use the phone so that we can generate revenue, or we've got to find alternative channels of communication, and whether that's a text or an email, whether that's a web chat service, we've got to try and integrate that into the customer experience, and then get the delivery we want. What's the outcome? Outcome is we want more customers, happier customers, spending money for a longer period of time. And if every business can do that, it's great. How can we help do that?
Yeah.
It's funny because in our industry and compliance, we have the consumer duty now, and part of that is about what the customer wants and what's best for them. Sometimes around vulnerability, which can be your more elderly customers in a rural area, and in that example, if you're forcing people to be online, it's not ideal. I think sometimes I decide whether I want to speak to someone or live chat, depending on am I busy? Have I got time to be waiting on the phone? And I think giving options to everyone is really important. So I'm guessing that you could maybe drag people from thinking that the phone is just an old school, slow method of communication to actually one that brings it into the digital age.
A lot of companies, it's almost impossible to speak to somebody.
Yeah.
It's just, you cannot speak to them. So you have to go down the web chat route, which I don't mind if it is an end user there and not AI, which can't answer your question.
Yeah.
AI is great for an initial, what's the word I'm looking for? It's saying if you're looking for, if you're looking for a car, for instance, and you want to know the basic facts about it, and then they'll say, oh yeah, somebody will be in contact with you at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm all right with that. I got those basic facts. Just an initial chat with them.
Yeah,
But
like
any
a
more
range
than
of
that.
FAQs, frequently asked questions. You can program it to do those things.
Yeah.
Again, we think that there's the augmentation between what is real and what isn't. So the outcome will always be someone make a phone call to a phone number. A bot will answer it. Thanks for calling. Tell me why you're calling today. I'd like to pay the bill. We'd like to pay the bill. Please give us your account number, postcode, and we can ask a lot of identifiable verification without that going to the agent. So you're protecting the consumer's identity and data, right, in a really enclosed area. What would you like to do at the end of it? I'm also moving house. I'd like to change address. So we can put a lot of these things potentially into an auto attendant, a bot that will ask these questions and provide the answers to the customer. At the end of it, though, the customer should always have the ability to speak to someone. Is there anything else you'd like help with today? If so, please hold the line, or we can end the call. Thank you for ending the call. At the end of it, do you want to do it? Would you like to take part in a survey? Or we could send you a text and you take part in the survey at your leisure. There's lots and lots of things that can be done, and though sometimes they appear irritating, and small businesses, large businesses, us individuals as consumers, we look at them, we get given the receipt in shops, we're doing a survey. If you fill in the survey at the end, you can win £500 worth of Argos vouchers, whatever it might be. Those responses, the NPS scoring, could be huge. In the modern world, when our kids are going to go buying stuff, they're going to look online. They're going to look online for reviews, experiences. What was someone's understanding of this? I mean, had I known working for some organisations many years ago would have been that bad because Glassdoor had told me maybe I would never work for them. Had I known that the TripAdvisor place I went to was only a 2.1 rather than 5 stars, I would never have gone.
Yeah, you're right. I think even hiring staff will, and it comes up in interviews sometimes, doesn't it? We've read your reviews; they're amazing, and it can be the difference between getting good staff and not.
And,
Yes, that's a
and I,
good point,
and I think this is we've had more of a chat about business in general, right?
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes it's good for different industries, to get an insight what we do, not just what we do, but what you guys do, what your customers do, but also about the mindset, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys have built a business, we're trying to build ours to the next level as well, and a lot of that will be around the mindset. What's the mindset of John, Nick, Saskia, Martin, whoever it is that's in your business? You want them to be not necessarily a carbon copy of you, but to have the same values, same goals, same aims. The best marketing is to actually give a shit. you know. And if you do that from the outset and your customer gets that feeling, then they're going to buy off you. They're also going to potentially recommend you. But if you don't give a shit, they're going to tell far more people that you don't give a shit.
It goes back to, turning business down. We had one customer who wanted a full authorization license with us. And the more we looked into it, the more we thought, you don't need one. And this was like 15 grand's worth of business he wanted to chuck away. And we turned him down 3 times. And he's like, any other company in the world would just take my money and go, but it's not the right thing to do.
Yeah, it's not the right
I'd
thing to
rather
do.
sleep at night. And, he would have literally bankrupted this
Yeah.
guy. It was a new business.
I've learned that over the years. I had a very bad experience with a business a few years back. I got caught up. I said yes to everything. And I got caught up quite badly. And I nearly lost my home and my family. And that was because of the decisions I'd made. And the inability sometimes to stand back and say no. Because there's one thing, putting the meat on the table and paying the mortgage is, your first priority. Something else then to thinking you need to feed the beast. And sometimes what you need to do is stand back, realize that something's going to blow up if you don't, and the older I've got, the more I've realized the importance of being able to sometimes stand back, tell someone this is going to be, and you've picked me up on this yourself, this is going to be 2 weeks, not 1 week. Sometimes it's better to say 3. You give the expectation. If you then over deliver within that period of time,
Exactly.
amazing. But otherwise, you put yourself the right amount of time.
So, Gareth, we're going to do our quick fire questions. Answer as quick as you can. Don't let Rixie get carried away and turn them into non-quick fire. So, what's been the biggest difficulty you've faced in business?
My wife.
Why?
Allowing me to go back into the world of self-employment and business ownership.
Okay.
Behind every great man and all that.
It's a scary
What's
one.
the most critical skill that you find is important in running a business?
Communication.
And what's the best business advice you've ever been given by someone else?
Don't ever ask anyone to do anything you're not prepared to do yourself.
Old school, but old but gold, that one is.
So, yeah.
And what's the biggest risk you've ever taken in business?
My wife. So I mentioned a bit earlier, having owned a business a couple of years ago, said yes to a number of organisations to become customers, provided services to some unscrupulous individuals, should we say, and nearly cost me my home. That was a big risk. Nearly cost me my marriage, So then after working for several years for a couple of big names in the voice and telco industry, for an opportunity to come up for me to go back into it, that's a big risk. I'm getting older, my kids are getting older, the wife is getting more used to having a comfortable lifestyle, so that risk element of the disruption, and again, putting your, for want of a better phrase, putting your cock on the block, and taking that risk again, that's big. It's big for anyone.
I don't know if I'm allowed to come in here, but my wife is exactly the same. She's very risk averse, so in the last couple of jobs, I went to like Sinclair's, BW Sinclair's. She didn't want me to have that job. I went to Peugeot. She didn't want me to have that job. I went to First Response. She didn't want me to have that job. So all these jobs, but if I didn't do them, I wouldn't have got to where I am now. She didn't want me to go self-employed. The fact of the matter is, I didn't have much choice. So
Maybe it's one thing we miss sometimes is that when we take a leap of faith, we're asking other people to take the leap of faith as well. So, big respect, I guess, to the people around us who trust in us to
it's teamwork.
to make it work.
Yeah. Teamwork, right? And it's not just them, is it? It's not just our wives, husbands, partners, it's the kids. It's how some decisions impact them. What have you got to do to cut your cloth to make it work? Does it mean that they've got to reduce down from 3 dance lessons a week to 2? Does it mean they've got to not have the latest trainers this month or the latest iPhone this year? There's little things that will impact, because they've got used to having those things when you're on a comfortable salary and and all the other
Absolutely.
accoutrements that come with it. You know, so yeah.
Good. Thank you. It started quick fire and ended long fire, but
Yeah.
valuable. One thing we do on the podcast is ask the previous guest to give one piece of blind business advice to the next guest without them even knowing the guest's going to be. And I think you've almost hit the point here. So our last guest said that the business advice would be to stick with it, go with your gut, and what was it? Smell what sells.
Smell what sells.
Is that kind of what you're saying? Is sometimes you have to smell what sells, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. You know, I'm a big believer in going with your gut. Full stop. Right. I did a.
He said that, so you got gut instinct.
Yeah, go with your gut.
I did that. I did one of these personality profile things, and I took them quite recently.
We love these, don't we?
ENTJ, and as I've gone older, I've become more ENFP, which is the last week. I'm a bit more emotional about stuff, and I'm a bit more understanding.
It's the menopause guy.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah. It's a horrible word in our house. But so then move on swiftly. And I think that ultimately, what we've got to remember, right, is in business and in life, whichever we look at it, whatever happens is only 10%. How we approach and deal with it is the remaining 90.
100%.
Too many people.
No.
Too many people put the emphasis on
I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. I'm
I
sorry.
like
Too many people put emphasis on that 10%.
Yeah. Try telling that the 80-20 rule as well, by the way.
Yeah, it's exactly the same application, right? You know, 80% of your money will come from 20% of your customers.
Correct.
80% of your problems will come from 20% of your workforce. You know, 20% of your workforce.
80% of my problems come from 100% of my wife.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's enough about CV for the time being. I've met her, it just scares me.
Scares me.
But I think that in business and in life, something goes wrong and we concentrate on what goes wrong.
Yeah.
And there are, you know, sometimes you've got to be able to go, right, it's gone wrong. It's screwed up, effed up, whatever term you want to use. I've made the wrong decision. Someone's done a wrong decision against me, whatever it is. Stand up and learn from it, how you deal with it. Because when something goes wrong, and it has done for me in the past, and in the more recent past as well, you stand and you go, we made a mistake. Do you know what? We'll put it right. We'll put this right within the quickest time we can. You know, something occurred with a customer before Christmas. We thought that we put a cancellation process through at their request to delay a timescale for a number transferring. And we've sent that request through. And we'd agreed, yeah, we'll postpone this until you're comfortable, because they had other issues going on. And the number was transferred. We had a notification at like 6:30 of a morning. This is now on your platform. So first thing we did, get in touch. Listen, this number's transferred. How quickly can we get access? Can we? Here's some remote users. Scan these QR codes, and you'll be up and running within an hour. Right, less than you know how quickly our QR stuff works. But we were there that afternoon, reinstalling and reprogramming the kit. Within a day, it's like nothing had happened. But you know, something went wrong, and we just said, "Look, yeah, okay, went wrong." And the guy was giving us, "Look, yeah, that's fine. Just give us the brief, whether it's our fault or not, or whether it's BT's fault. It doesn't matter. Look, it went wrong. We'll put it right."
So we need you to give us one piece of advice, business advice, for our next guest that came on. So what was your piece of advice? You can't use the one you've just used. I'm sorry. You need to think of another one.
Keep knocking the door, because eventually the right one will be answered. My meaning behind that is just keep going. Things are going to go wrong. Things are going to go right. You don't know what's behind that door until you knock it. You know? And at the end of the day, they say opportunity doesn't knock twice. So you shouldn't either. You know, knock the door, move on. Knock the door, move on.
Good. Thank you for that, Gareth. It's been great talking to you. Great to get an insight, I think, into another industry, but you always then see the similarities between industries. And I hope whether people are watching from the telephony industry or from compliance or motor trade can see an insight into something that maybe they don't see every day.
Yeah,
and
no,
it
it's
should
been
be
good.
really valuable.
I've enjoyed. And I was amazed that the makeup lady managed to get me looking so good as well. So that's really
Look,
good.
10 years younger.
Yeah, amazing.
Shame it didn't do your hair as well, but
It's the fashion, isn't it? The windswept and interesting look.
that's what it is.